What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls PvP. Alright, guys, we're back at it once again with yet another installment of the Battle of the Build series. Now, this should be, I think, is volume 15 or so. Alright, and first and foremost, I'd like to offer a thanks and shout out to good old Bruno Skate. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Bruno went on ahead and sent me a message, and he took the time to volunteer the showcase of his Gargoyle build. Now, what exactly do I mean by gargoyles? Well, just think about the undead parish, right? The gargoyles at the top with the gargoyle helm, the shield, the gargoyle halberd, in addition to the gargoyle tail axe. And also, in addition to all those things, he has correctly included the pyromancies. Right, so when he told me about the idea, I thought it was unique and pretty original, and that's why he is being showcased. So, like I said before, I'd like to offer thanks and shout out to good old Bruno Skate for his demonstration of this build. Now, I'm not really sure. I don't know if he is using a 27 or 28 40 stats, or is he just going with the 40-40 stats? 40-40 meaning 40 in strength and 40 in dexterity. I'm pretty sure he's going somewhere around 27 or 28-40. As a matter of fact, I probably have to ask just to confirm that. But he is basically using a build that has a lot of good resistances, right? Because to the extent that you guys are not familiar, a lot of those gargoyle weapons will give you an additional resistance to bleeding, poison, and toxic. And as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, also with the curse, right? So I thought it was a pretty good themed build that was very effective, right? Especially if you're the type of opponent that's going to try to inflict poison, toxic, or maybe even bleed on him, because he has a lot of those good resistances. So I think that was an awesome job on his part with regards to the build. Now, so let's just go ahead and talk about it. Basically, he has that thing costumed, well, actually I can't say costume, but he has it armored perfectly. From the complexion to the equipment, it really looks exactly like the gargoyle. I mean, I think if you just really want to be nitpickish, the only exception I would say is probably the chest piece, but who really cares? I mean, it's an awesome theme build, and I think he played it pretty well. Now, with regard to the weapon selection, another reason why I thought it was especially good is because, how many people really use the gargoyle tail axe? And that weapon, speaking from experience, was pretty good. One reason is because, on a few occasions, I found myself getting hit because it was very difficult for me to judge the distance. Now, granted, I was playing unlocked and running around and stuff like that, and that may have been one reason why I was getting hit, because I couldn't judge the distance right. But at the end of the day, that is a pretty good weapon. It has good stun locking capabilities in addition to being able to inflict pretty decent damage. Now, I'm not really sure if he was kind of trying to dead angle me with some of those attacks, but what I do know, he was definitely effective in getting some good hits. Now, I was able to go ahead and capitalize on that missed pyromancy that he cast, but hey, we're good to go. Now, admittedly, I had probably after the first 3 or 4 matches, I kind of had to back down a little bit, because to the extent that you guys have already seen my 3-part forest series that I called Who's Ever the Fastest Gets the Prey. And in that video, basically, I was just forest hunting. And for the last week, that's all I've been doing. Is basically, well, actually, I can't say the whole week because it took me a couple days to put the build together. So I would say probably from Tuesday till Friday, I was forest hunting. So I got a lot of good footage. And as a matter of fact, I think it's a total of nearly 90 minutes of forced PvP. And because that's basically all I was doing for those days, I was just basically in the habit of, backstabbing, attacking, doing whatever I could. And I think after the third or fourth match, I said, hey, dude, I kind of apologize for all those backstabs in the beginning. I kind of been in forest hunting mode. So you guys will see I think from this match onward, I kind of calmed down on the backstabs. Right? Because like I said before, whenever I am engaging in formal matchups, and this is my own standard. I know a lot of people have their standards, and it's different than mine. I'm good with that. I'm just talking about my own. Whenever I'm playing in formal matchups, especially arrangements like these, I try not to take advantage of every backstab that I can. Now, I know that's a limitation that I place on myself, but at the end of the day, my aims and goals are a little different in arranged matches than what they might be in random invasions. So that's why I try to concentrate more on my tactics and less on taking every opportunity to backstab that I can. Now, like I said before, this is not to say that you won't get backstabbed, because I will. But do I calm down a little bit on them? Well, actually, do I use a lot more discretion on my backstabs in formal matches than what I would in random invasions? I sure do. Right? Because no one wants to be featured in the video to where you've been, basically had your back cracked the whole time. Right? So, to be fair to my opponent, I said, well, I'll backstab him, but I won't seize every opportunity like I would during a random invasion. Right? Because random invasions are basically balls to the wall. Excuse the expression, but that's basically what it is. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and use my high-speed butcher's knife. And actually, I hit him unlocked. That's how I was able to hit him behind me. Now, I don't really know what kind of defense stats he has. Now, I do know that he has pretty good resistances due to using those gargoyle pieces. In addition to that, I do know he has 55 poise, so he is actually able to sustain a two-handed greatsword hit. But with regard to his actual defenses, I'm not really sure. Now, me myself, my defenses are pretty low. And as a matter of fact, I think the sorcerer set, with how I put it together, and actually, I have the either the elite knight or the regular knight gauntlets, the hollow soldier leggings, and the sorcerer's cloak and headpiece. Right, and I think that will get you somewhere in the low 300s with regard to defense. So, not only do I have low defense, but my vitality is pretty low. As a matter of fact, my vitality, this one build has the lowest vitality than what I have on any other build. Most of my build, and actually I can't even say most, all of my builds, with the exception of my level 235 build, has 1700 vitality. Now, I know some guys, they would go ahead and increase their vitality from 45 to 50. The main reason why I didn't is because, think about it, you're investing 5 soul levels for only 100 HP. So, in other words, what does 100 HP really mean? Basically, 100 HP might protect you from one hit from a dagger, but that's about it. It won't protect you from a rapier hit, and it won't protect you from much of anything else. I think, as a matter of fact, a one hit from a dagger is probably the only thing that 100 HP will protect you from. Because actually, I used to cap a lot of my builds at 50 vitality. But after I just kind of sat there and paid attention one day, I said, you know what? Why am I going all the way to 50 when I can use those 5 soul levels and invest them in something else? Mainly endurance, because actually for the vast majority of my builds, that's what I invest a lot of points in, endurance, and that's only so that I can carry more than one weapon. right? Because I know some guys, they're kind of into using one weapon at a time. I don't really do that, right? In a lot of my builds, I like to go ahead and be able to switch off weapons. Sometimes be able to switch off with two weapons that may equal upwards of 12 units. You know, case in point, in my dexterity build, you know, dexterity slash quality, however you want to classify it, I'm able to carry two 6-unit weapons, right? So if I want to carry a halberd in addition to a flamberg, I can do it. A chaos blade with a spear, I can do it, right? Whereas in some other builds, you might be limited to one 6-unit weapon and maybe a rapier, which is, I believe, 1.5 units. So that's why in most of my builds, I mean, if you just want to be honest, most of the points are pumped into endurance, right? Because after I get the strength and dexterity where I want it, if to the extent that all my builds are capped off at 45, for which they are, the remaining points only get invested into endurance. All right, so that's just about it. So like I said before, I really don't see that many limitations with regard to his build. The Gargoyle halberd is pretty good, right? To the extent that you guys are familiar with it. The Gargoyle tail axe can hit you pretty good, especially with that R2 attack that you rarely see. The R1 has the ability to stun lock, and in addition to that, he has pretty good resistances to poison, toxin, and bleed, right? Because I'm pretty sure some of you guys are familiar that those Gargoyle pieces, and especially the tail axe, has pretty good resistances. And then after that, to the extent that you're pretty good at wielding the pyro, I mean, you have all kind of possibilities with regard to this build. So, I mean, I think it was an awesome build in addition to his awesome showcase. Now, let's talk about the negatives. I don't really see that many negatives. I mean, it's a themed build, so I mean, the most negative I can see is that you're limited to using only certain weapons, but that's the point behind using a themed build. So that's about it. And, you know, I know some of you guys that are kind of real technical on everything might say, well, I mean, the Gargoyles, they only use fire surge. So, I mean, if you really want to get technical, you can just say maybe he should limit himself to fire surge. But at the end of the day, the Gargoyle, I mean, it casts flames. It casts flames. So, you know, with it being a theme build, who really cares if he uses anything other than a fire surge? Now, like I said before, for all of you guys that like to be technical on every little thing, okay, go ahead, create you a version that may have 2 or 3 versions, or actually not 2 or 3 versions, of 2 or 3 iterations of Fire Surge. But if not, hey, the way I see it, using this theme build with a wide variety of pyromancies is still sufficient. Right, so I don't really see any limitations with regard to that. Now, let's talk about my build. Now, to the extent that you guys have already checked out my 3-piece, well, actually not 3-piece, but 3-part Forest Hunter series, I'm pretty sure that you may be somewhat familiar with this build. This is my Strength Mage. Right, then actually this is a build that I just created this week. Actually, I was kind of thinking up the idea. I talked it over with a couple guys just to hear some of their views and opinions, because one of the main issues that I had with this build is that I couldn't, well, at least the way I put the build together, I couldn't have 1700 vitality. Now, there are some variations to where I could have had it, but you know, I really, since this is a female character, I really wanted her to look girly. Right now, there were suggestions for me to use, you know, maybe the Havel's gauntlets. Well, I mean, those things, you know, they kind of bulge out and they stick out. I didn't really want that look. I mean, as a female character, I wanted her legs to show. Thus, the Hollow Soldier's waistcloth, and the theme behind my build was basically cute but not innocent, right? Meaning, yeah, she shows her legs off. Yeah, she's a girl, but at the end of the day, with the strength weapons and with the sorceries, she's definitely not innocent because she can pack a punch. Now, at the same time, she only has 1500 and vitality, 1500 HP. Now, granted, some of you guys may be so good that you can go with 31 poise, or maybe 36 poise, and perhaps get yourself more vitality. But me, I'm not all that hot, right? I'm not at the level to where I'm really comfortable with going less than 53. Now, I'm not saying I have zero builds with less than 53, because I actually do have a couple builds. Some of my other casters only have like 44 or 47. I'm just saying a lot of my builds will have at least, actually I can't even say at least, to the extent that I am not using a build with my black iron set, because actually that's one set that that's a heavy set that I really like. Right, even though the giant set has a lot of defense, I've never really liked the look of that giant set. I've always had a preference for the black iron set. So, to the extent that I am not using my full black iron build, most of my builds have either 53 or 54 on the money. Martyrs von Steuben has 53 or 54 exactly. My onion head strength build that I use on Xbox, 53 or 54 on the money. This build, 53 on the money. And the build that some guys say looks like some type of Roman dude, the one that I used in my "If You Can't Take the Heat, Stay Out of the Forest" video, 53 or 54 on the money. Right, so in other words, unless I am using my full black iron build, I really don't see a need to be going 60 or anything like that. I'm good with either 53 or 54 poise. Alright, now, one thing I will say about good old Bruno, I think he got kind of annoyed with as many times as I was able to successfully hit him with that Homing Crystal Soul Mass. Right, so now you guys will notice that as soon as he see me firing up that Homing Crystal Soul Mass, I mean, he's coming in and he's engaging. Right, because I caught him so many times with that Homing Crystal Soul Mass, that he's like, okay, dude, I'm kind of sick of this. And actually, I was supposed to hit him with a second hit, but I ran out of endurance. So that was kind of unfortunate for me, but it was a benefit for him. Because if I would have hit him with that second hit, that would have been probably about a total 900 in damage. Now, that running attack, he's pretty good with that, because he's hit me on a number of occasions with that running two-handed Gargoyle halberd attack. And actually, I kind of misjudged the distance right there, and I kind of left him a couple notes. I'm like, wow, dude, I mean, it's kind of hard to judge the distance on that Gargoyle tail axe every now and then, because I really get hit with it. And, he just basically laughed, but this is a really cool build. Now, let's talk pros and cons with regard to my build, since we have already talked about my perceived pros and cons of his build. Basically, the pros: I'm able to use strength weapons. Now, originally, I stopped this build at 128, but the final version is at 130. I've said this on a number of occasions, but all of my builds, except for one, are somewhere between 125, 130. I don't go above 130, and it's very rare that I go below 130. Now, I used to have one soul level 100, but I mean, I only created that build because of the arena. I'm never in the arena, so I basically got rid of it. So this build is level 130. I think the stats, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the information right in front of me, but just from what I remember with this build, I think I have like it's 50 in vitality exactly, because 50 in vitality without the ring of favor and protection gives me 1500 health points. Let's see, I think I have either 36 or 30. Actually, I think I have 38 in endurance, 36 strength, right? Because I wanted to be able to one hand the Black Knight Great Axe, 18 in dexterity, and 36 in intelligence, right? I didn't go 40, I only have 36. So those are pretty much my stats. You guys can kind of piece that together on a Mutant Monkey if you like. And if you guys notice, I am not using the Dust Crown. Now, number one, I wouldn't use it because this is a formal setup match, right? And, you know, even though some guys are cool with it, I mean, I'm using sorceries, and my sorceries are strong enough. And the way I see it, I mean, with them already being strong and me using strength weapons in addition to that, it was just unnecessary. Now, I know that's a limitation that I'm placing on myself. I know some guys will say, dude, why would you limit yourself? Well, number one, I don't really have anything to prove, right? I mean, I know the sorceries are extremely powerful to the extent that they hit. I don't really have anything to prove. Like I said before, I'm trying to improve my tactics, not only with my weapons, but also with my castings. Because if you guys notice, I'm trying to get a lot of practice with my Homing Crystal Soul Mask, for which I've had a pretty good amount of practice because I'm pretty good with hitting with them. I know some guys, they have their own tactics, and it seems like they can never hit. But, I mean, the tactics that I employ with the Homing Crystal Soul Mask, they seem to be pretty successful, right? Because I've been pretty good with being able to hit him and other opponents with the Homing Crystal Soul Mask with the tactics that I use. So, those are the pros. I have good sorceries. I like to switch off between either the Manus Catalyst or the Crystal or the 10 Crystallization Catalyst. I switch off between the two. And I'm able to use the Black Knight Great Axe and a lot of the other Black Knight weapons, in addition to, you know, the large club, Man Serpent Great Sword. I use the what else? Actually, I can also use the Moonlight Great Sword, but I just didn't focus on that since I really wanted to use a lot of the strength weapons. But I can. It is definitely an option with regard to this strength mage. So I'm pretty much good with regard to that. The downsides, like I said before, I have 1500 vitality, so I really have to be careful with regard to getting hits, especially keeping in mind that I have really low defense. Like I said before, I am using the Sorcerer set. So because I am using the Sorcerer set, I mean, the defensive stats on that Sorcerer set are really low. As a matter of fact, I think my total defense right now is somewhere in the low 300s. Right? Very low 300s. So, I mean, you pair off low defense with low vitality, or relatively low, especially when you compare this build to my other build. I mean, I really don't have a lot of room to mess around with my opponents. Right? So that's why in some of these cases, when I've been defeated, I mean, I got defeated after like 3 or 4 hits. Right? Alright, now, with regard to this build, I think I might just keep this one as a Forest Hunter build, because I love using this build in the forest. I don't know why, but I just really like using this build in the forest. And like I said before, not just using this build, but I enjoy random invasions, especially forest hunting in general. Because random invasions, like I've said plenty of times, is what I use when I want to have fun. Formal matchups, whenever I'm doing showcases such as these, or if I just want to improve my tactics, I'll go go to the Berg or something like that, which is kind of rare, especially when you compare how often I'm in the Berg versus the times that I'm doing random invasions. Right? But it's good either way it goes. Alright, so I hope you guys have enjoyed the matches thus far. As a matter of fact, let me just go ahead and throw this out there. Once again, to the extent that this is the first time you guys have seen any of my videos, this is my Battle of the Build series. Right? The original goal of the Battle of the Build series was to showcase builds other than Katana Pyro Dex builds. And I started this series a long time ago. It's been a few months. And like I said back then there was a lot of people who basically, as soon as you started PvP, all you saw was ninja flipping katana users. And I really got tired of it. And the way I saw it, either I could complain or I could do something about it. So instead of just sitting back and complaining without action, I decided to come out with the Battle of the Build series. And the aim and goal of this series is to showcase what I perceive to be unique but certainly viable builds in order to spark imagination. That was the aim and goal. To showcase unique and viable builds to spark player creativity. And I really hope I've been able to do that. Because, in the past, all I saw was the Darkwood Grain Ring, Katana, Pyro builds. Now, I see a lot more variety. And I don't know if it's because some of the contributions that I've made, or if it's just simply people are being more creative. Regardless of what sparked it, I am really happy at the result. So, once again, guys, if you guys have a unique build, right? You have a build that you use it in a way that is rarely used or rarely seen, or let's just say you're using rare weapons, go ahead and contact me, right? If it is unique, I'll go ahead and showcase it. If I think it's not really unique, we might have a few matches, but I'm not really sure if I will showcase it. I am really looking for some builds that people are using in a unique way. Now, in addition to the Battle of the Build series, I also have a Battle of the Uploader series. Any of you uploaders, I'm on PC. Well, actually not PC. I'm not on PC anymore, even though I used to be. But I am on Xbox and PlayStation. On PlayStation, hit me up at Martyrs Brigade 99. On Xbox, and actually I haven't been on Xbox in a while, but probably sometime soon I'll be back on Xbox. Probably next couple weeks I might be back on Xbox. As a matter of fact, I have another Battle of the Build series that I have to upload featuring myself against good old Big Tata. Now, the first series of matches in a video that I did titled A Soldier Among Generals. I was kind of piecing Tata up. Right? And I think he's like, you know what, dude? You're not going to do me like that. Right? So we decided to, we decided to do a Battle of the Build series featuring myself against his Leo Ring build. And actually, I got the stuffing beat out of me. Mainly because, any of those high damaging builds, you absolutely cannot take them for granted. And actually, I don't really want to get too much into it. I'll just leave that for the showcase when I upload it. So that will be volume 16 against myself getting the crap beat out of me versus Big Tata. Alright guys, well that is pretty much it. Thanks again to good old Bruno for volunteering his time and demonstrating an awesome showcase of his full Gargoyle build. I really appreciate it. I'm pretty sure that as pleased as I am, hopefully the viewers will also be pleased. Very unique build, and I love the way he used it. So, I hope you guys enjoy the series. Thanks again, Bruno, for your showcase. Well, until next time, Martyrs Brigade.